Hello, Nistas and Nistas. How are you today? Welcome back to the channel. I want to thank you guys for coming back to the channel. I'm SavingsFashionista, and over here we do mainly things fragrance, whether it's body or home. And today we are here to talk fragrances, you guys, and we're going to talk about an inspired fragrance collection from this particular house, and the house that I want to share my thoughts about their bouquet collection is the house of Afnan. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, please say all right. So bouquet, it's their collection. Afnan is, I want to say, they are an Arabian fragrance house, and they do have like their own website that you can go to and look up their fragrances and their collections. And the fragrance collection that we are here to talk about today is the Bouquet collection. Now, it all started with this fragrance called Mystique Bouquet. And I was inspired to purchase this fragrance from Fumi Monet over on Instagram. And she compared it to one of my favorite fragrances from the house of Parfums de Marly. So when I looked it up and I saw that it was very inexpensive on this particular site that I purchased it from, I went ahead and gave it a try, and I do not regret it at all. Now, I know some of you fragrance nistas, you don't believe in buying inspired fragrances, and preferably I don't either, but sometimes my curiosity, or I may have another reason. Like I don't want to go through a $300 or $400 bottle of fragrance as fast, especially if another person in my house is using it as well. So I have different reasons, and sometimes it's just sheer curiosity. So I'll spend $50 or less just on sheer curiosity. So if you go to the site on Afnan, these retail for about $120. But I did find these on Joma Shop, and I got each one of them for less than $40. So the whole collection itself, I paid about $130 for all four of the fragrances. Now this collection only has four fragrances. I thought that a ranking would be easy and a fun way of sharing my thoughts, because there are not a lot of people that have shared thoughts on these fragrance or the house, um the collection all together. So you may find a video over here about Mystique Bouquet, then you may find one over here about the cherry bouquet, and then you may find another one about, another one, but they're very far few and in between. So I just decided to just go ahead and do a whole video since I have all of the fragrance in this collection. So let's just start with number 4. It's only 4 fragrances in this collection, and we're going to start with number 4, and number 4 is Cherry Bouquet. And the bottle is absolutely beautiful. I like it. It feels very sustainable. It's glass. The cap is not plastic. It feels more like some type of metal or some other type of material. But this fragrance is very similar to Tom Ford's Lost Cherry, and I can give a fair assessment or comparison because I do have Lost Cherry, and I've had it in my collection probably nearly 4 years now. This is not one of my favorites from the house of Tom Ford. It is probably my least favorite that I have in my collection, but this is Lost Cherry. I'm not going to tell you the fragrance notes in the originals, but I will share the fragrance notes in the inspired. So this was released in 2023. It has top notes of black cherry, cherry liqueur, almond, sour cherry. It has hard notes of plum, damask rose, jasmine sambac, raspberry, and the base notes, it has cloves, cedar, patchouli, vetiver, and vanilla. Now, unfortunately, Tom just does not give you fragrance notes that detailed, but this fragrance is a lot like the original. It's something in the dry down of this fragrance that's like a resin, clovey, just unpleasant type of deep wood that I do not like. I don't know exactly what that wood is because it doesn't say. I can assume that it's probably like the mixture of a clove and some cedar and patchouli. When the dry down is on my skin, it almost makes me nauseated. I do not like it. And this fragrance does the same thing. I hope at some point that I will grow into Lost Cherry or a cherry fragrance like it because it's a beautiful fragrance. Don't get me wrong. I love the way it opens up. I love the way that it starts off. But you guys, it's something about the dry down that I don't like. So these are very, very similar. But let's talk about the performance. So if you like Lost Cherry, I do think that this is a great inspired fragrance to get to supplement for the Lost Cherry. Now, this fragrance, it is long lasting. Yeah, this fragrance is long lasting, and I did suffer through the wear of it. I did not document the time, but I do know that from morning all the way up until after lunch, I could still smell this fragrance. It could have been longer, but I do know afternoon, this fragrance was still with me from that morning. And you still get that cherry note, although it's not the star of the show once it dries down on my skin. It's just very resin deep and some type of wood that I don't like, that almost smells like a chemical that I just don't like. But like I said, if you are a fan of Lost Cherry, and you know, Lost Cherry, a lot of people, even when it first came out, they complained about the longevity. It just did not have a good longevity or projection. I don't really remember because it's been so long since I wore Lost Cherry. But as for this, like I said, you can get you about 4 to 5 hours out of it, or maybe longer depending on your skin. So again, coming in at number 4 is Cherry Bouquet from the Bouquet collection of Afnan fragrances. The next one coming in at number 3 is Violet Bouquet. Now, Violet Bouquet, I was shocked that this was not as popular as the Mystique Bouquet, because this fragrance is supposed to be an inspired fragrance to the most duplicated fragrance in the fragrance world. And we all know what that is. Let's say it together. Baccarat Rouge 540. Yes, this is inspired, or said to be inspired by this. Now, you guys, it does have that same Baccarat Rouge DNA. It does. On first whiff, you get it. It's definitely there. But this fragrance has a lot of alcohol in it. You can smell the alcohol, and even wearing this up until like an hour in, I could still smell the alcohol in it. It has a lot of alcohol. So it might need some shelf life just to macerate a little bit more. But for me, I do think that this is a really nice alternative, but I do think that it's a little bit closer to another fragrance that's very similar to Baccarat Rouge, and it is Mancera's Instant Crush. This is like probably the first fragrance that I had outside of Greenwich Village that I felt smelled a lot like Baccarat Rouge. Is this Mancera's Instant Crush, and it's pretty good. But to me, the Violet Bouquet is a little bit more closer or similar to this than it is to the original one. This one does have a little bit more creaminess to it. Although this one does not have that nuttiness that the extrait version have in it, I still kind of like get that hidden undertone of it. But it's very similar. It wears well. This fragrance lasted about 6 to 8 hours, but like I said, an hour in, I could still smell the alcohol in it. And even now, smelling it, I still smell the alcohol. So maybe it's just the way that the fragrance was formulated. It may get better as time progress. I don't know. But coming in at number 3, this is Violet Bouquet by Afnan Fragrances from their Bouquet collection. All right, now coming in at number 2, this is a fragrance that is still presently on my wish list, and I'm really thinking about going ahead and getting it. because I do really enjoy this fragrance. Or I just might wait until next springtime because it is more of a spring summer fragrance. But I did see Pauline talk about this particular one, um and she talked about how to her it was a little better than the original one. And I don't know if that just means in full bottle form, I don't know, but I have two samples of this fragrance of the original one, and I have done a test wear on this fragrance quite a few times because I'm like, this is not adding up to what Paula said. So I was just really referencing her. And it could just be the way it performs on our individual skin. Who knows? But coming in at number 2 is LeFleur Bouquet. LeFleur Bouquet. And the fragrance that it is inspired by is Fleur Narcotique by Ex Nihilo, and I'm going to put a picture of it right here so you can see. But I did a wear test, and I put this on one wrist and I put this on another wrist, and I went to bed. And when I woke up the next morning, I remember which wrist was right, which one was left, and this one lasts longer. It did. So I don't know if this is just in sample form. I would hate if I went out and spent my coin and got the full size bottle and this sample is performing better than a full size bottle. And I have heard rumors of that. I've heard that the samples and the testers are a little bit more concentrated as far as oil to be like an persuasion technique, and it's not as potent. What they sell is not as potent as the testers and the samples. That's just a rumor that I heard. I don't know how true it is, but if that is true, I would not be happy about that if I spend my money on a full size bottle and it doesn't perform like what I have had in sample form. So this right here, although that one lasted longer, you do still get some wear out of this. Even wearing this does last about 4 to 5 hours. It projects that long. So it's a nice lasting fragrance, and for the price that you pay for it, it's just simple to drop it in your bag or either decant it, but it does smell like 95% like Fleur Fleur Narcotique. It does. And this fragrance is expensive. Most fragrances are expensive, but if this has a mediocre lasting power, I don't want to pay that because it's already a very soft signature fragrance. So it's not like a Baccarat Rouge DNA where you're going to smell it depending on where you are, who you're around, and what your skin is giving that day. It's not that type of fragrance. It is a fragrance that is meant to be more of a demure. A more demure fragrance, you know, more signature worthy, more close to skin type of fragrance. But it is absolutely beautiful. I am enjoying it. As you can see, I've given it some spray time and it smells so good, you guys. So if you don't mind overspraying and spraying a lot, I do think if you like Fleur Narcotique, or if you want to sample Fleur Narcotique, I do think that this is a great alternative to see how you really enjoy this fragrance. So again, coming in at number 2, this is LeFleur Bouquet, which is inspired by Fleur Narcotique from the house of Afnan Fragrances. Now coming in at number 1, this is the one that started it all. And the way Fumi explained it, she talked about how this fragrance was not as rustic. Is that a good term? Or maybe woody, I should say woody and musky as the original. Now this one is Mystique Bouquet, and this is probably the most popular one from the line. And it's absolutely beautiful. And I do agree with her. It's not as resin and as woody, which I love Vallejo. I have no complaints about that. But this is just a tad bit softer because Vallejo, my husband wears Vallejo. And this to me, it doesn't come off as overly feminine, but it's just like a softer version of Valleja, but it smells so much like Valleja, you guys. This one has top notes of white peach, mandarin, orange, bergamot, lychee. Heart notes of orange blossom, vetiver, mononi, and peony. Base notes of ambroxan, musk, vanilla, and oat moss. What I do notice that they did not mention the Aki Gali wood, but it still gives you that oudiness. It still has that oudiness to it. And it's nice, you guys. It is absolutely nice. So my reason for getting this is because my husband really does like this fragrance, you guys. And I'm like, he just be doing a little too much because it doesn't take much of this. It does not take much of this at all. And I think I've only shared like one decant of this. It doesn't take much of this at all. And I'm like, let me get him an alternative because he's just spraying, spraying, spraying. So we've been using this one, and like I said, it's a really great alternative. It's not as powerhouse to me as the original one, but it is a great alternative in my opinion. And if this is just a little bit too cloying or too pungent for you, I would definitely recommend this. For some reason, this one, these two right here, I was able to get these for like $40. The other two, I was able to get them for like $30. So I don't know why it's a difference in the pricing, but they're worth it. Even if it was $50 or $60, in my opinion, they are definitely worth it. So this is my number one pick. I would definitely recommend this. Thank you, Fumi. She shared this. I took a chance, bought it, and I'm not mad about it. And it is so good. So the House of Afnan, they get 2 thumbs up from me for this particular collection. They have several collections, but they get 2 thumbs up from me for this collection. These are some great inspired fragrances that has some lasting power, and the fragrances, they just smell quality. They do have a quality edge to them, and they're nice. So like I said, you can find these on Juma Shop is where I found mine for half, third of the price, because if you go to the site, they cost like $120 each. But those were my thoughts on the Afnan Bouquet fragrance collection. And leave any comments or questions that you may have in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys so very much for coming back. This was a great experiment that I did, and I enjoyed it. So I want to thank you guys so very much. I greatly appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video, and do not forget, you, yes, you are great. Bye-bye.